The St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update, where we connect you to the parish community as you experience the presence of Christ.
Hey, what's up, and welcome to the St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update, week of September the 22nd. I'm Brandon Barker, and I'm joined with Leilani Freitas, Evan Swindle, and Isabel Keith. Hey, everybody.
We're still in the basement.
Still in the basement in the St. Thomas Aquinas studios, coming at you with another weekly update and another fun fact. I mean, we've been doing, the last couple of weeks have been mixing it up a little bit, and there's been a lot more conversation around some fun facts and less time about the events at Thomas Aquinas. So we're going to see how this goes. So it'd be great to hear some feedback from the community that is listening and watching, and just, is this doing it for you? Is this right? Is this connecting? Is it more helpful to know about all the individual events that are going on at the parish, times and places, or a little more context and things about the faith? So it's just good to get feedback. We've got some great feedback, some good constructive criticism over the last several months as we've been doing this, and it's been insanely helpful. So I just want to say thank you to all those that are taking the time to listen to this and praying for us, and then also providing feedback, because we want to make this as good and fruitful of something as the parish needs, especially on this sort of front. So just want to say thanks for that, which leads us into the fun fact. Fun fact of the week. This has to do with the Vicar of Christ on earth, the Pope, Papa, right? It's ultimately Italian for Pope, right? It's Italian for father, right? Mm-hmm. Papa Francesco, I believe, Pope Francis. And so it's one of those, the Pope is the universal, like, spiritual father here on earth. And so as Christ, being the head of the church, there's visible heads for the universal church and the local church and the parish and the domestic church and all these different, areas of life that Christ is visibly making himself present through different people. And so for the universal church, it's ultimately the Pope, and it underscores the Pope's role in just guiding and nurturing and providing pastoral care to Catholics worldwide. So anyway, did you know? There's a longer history about how it kind of, evolved, but that's he's been called the Pope, the Bishop of Rome specifically. So it's the Bishop of Rome because he's the bishop of a particular church, right? And I believe it's St. John Lateran is the church that like Father Arthur here is the pastor here. So he's the pastor of that church, but then he's also the Bishop of Rome, right? And so by default, the Bishop of Rome is also the Pope, of the universal church. And so it's one of those, it's like the different bishops, they're the pastor of that particular church, like the cathedral, and then the bishop of the diocese. And so there's all these different layers and stuff, because Christ just makes himself visible in a lot of different ways.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Any thoughts, questions that we should discuss on that? Or
So our bishop is the one that kind of is, he guides and shepherds our church here, like in this diocese.
Right.
And that's kind of what Pope Francis does for the church worldwide.
Right.
Okay.
For the universal church. Right. And so that's too. So it's like the universal church. I mean, I don't know how many dioceses and how many bishops there are around the world, but there's a lot. But then our particular church here in Dallas, which is the Diocese of Dallas, well, then there's the 78 parishes that make up the local church here in Dallas, that Bishop Burns is the bishop and, the visible head here of Christ. And so, so all the priests and the deacons and the lay faithful are here, under his direction, and he's under the direction of Pope Francis, but then the direction of the local parish, like here at St. Thomas Aquinas, is Father Arthur, right? So he's serving Bishop Burns here in this local parish community in the same way that at home, like with me in my home, I'm the head there and the visible head. And so there's all these different layers, from the domestic church to the parish community to the local church, all the way up to the universal church. So anyway.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, Pope Francis can't be everywhere, so he's got to have some guys helping him out.
Right. Well, and just one other thing on that, it's because there's the body of Christ, and there's Christ the head. So it's like the priest, right? When he's celebrating Mass, right? Us as the laity, we are there, and we are part of the body of Christ. And so Father Ryan was talking about this the other day, that when the priest's there, that he's in persona Christi Capitas, right? In person of Christ, which we all are collectively, right? We're there in the person of Christ, but the priest specifically in person of Christ, the head, right? The head of the church, which is Christ, right? There's only one head of the church, and it's Jesus Christ. And so, but like, how is that Christ made present, Christ the head made present to lead and to guide, Christ working through the Pope, right?
Yeah.
Working through the bishop, Christ working through the pastors, Christ working through, the leaders in these different ways. And so it's one of those, it's awesome and it's cool, but it's just good to understand the theology and how that works, because, right, it's like a head without a body
Doesn't make sense.
doesn't work, and a body without a head doesn't work. And so it's when the whole church, right, Christ
It's united.
and his church, right, the head and the body come together. And so that's what's happening, say at Mass, is the church is uniting, right? The head and the body and the whole church is coming together, in heaven and earth, and all these cool things are coming together. So it's one of those things, the more we understand the theology and how it works, right? And leadership's not always perfect, right? It's like, and my kids know that. But it's just one of those, how leadership works, and there's symbolic heads that manifest in different ways. And so it's sometimes hard for us to distinguish the difference between, I don't even know where I'm going with that. And I'm about to take another rabbit trail and talk for 15 more minutes. Evan's giving me the look like,
Welcome to the Brandon Barker Show.
let's shift gears. Yeah. And so I don't know what to do about that.
No, that
right
was
now.
awesome. That was awesome.
No, I think you explained it really well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
Good stuff here.
yeah, what do we have here going on at the parish this month or this week?
Yeah, so we have our Sunday Mass, we have our daily Mass, and we invite you to join in that celebration with us. And you can find those days and times on the parish website and on social media. We also have confessions on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. The times, again, you can find that on the website. We have so many ministries here, so many people that we're serving at this parish, and you can just get connected with them on the website. And there's just a lot going on. But like Brandon said, we wanted to kind of unpack some other things about our church as a whole during this podcast. And so we're not highlighting any specific event, but rather just inviting you to Mass and to just get plugged into these ministries we have here to serve you ultimately.
Yeah. And with that being said, we also launched some socials this year. So we have Instagram, we have Facebook, and we've had Facebook for a while, but we also have YouTube. So if you're listening to this right now on Spotify, I invite you, if you haven't already, check it out on YouTube. We also live stream our Sunday Mass there, the 11 a.m. Sunday Mass, and it's pretty cool. We pull clips from that live stream and cross-post it to Instagram and Facebook and YouTube so that we can meet people in the scroll where they are, so that we can walk with every person that we encounter. So if you haven't already, go check out our Instagram. We have the homily clips there that in the caption they have a verse or something that you can reflect in prayer with. So I think that's really great. And you get to hear from our pastors and our deacons. And then we also highlight parish events that are coming up. So definitely, if you're getting plugged in, already plugged in, and don't follow us on socials, give us a follow.
That's what I'm talking about. I've been asked the question, like, did we get all hip and cool and, focused on a certain group because of all the activity we've had? You say social, and it's like when a certain group hears social, they're thinking like we're having a
gathering,
a donut party, or we're doing. You're talking about social media,
Or
and they're
social security number.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
or you're talking about scroll and all that sort of. I don't even know what that is, but I know that you
guys,
do.
I'm so sorry.
No, I know. I mean, like it's cool. I mean, the point of it is that there's so many different platforms and spaces where people are at, and that's what is we're connecting and sharing, the love of Christ, and we're sharing truth about the faith. And I mean, that's the social media and doing stuff like this podcast, it's meant to connect with people that may not connect in other ways, or just add other layers, because again, there's always other steps and there's always things that we can do. And so what are we doing in between Sundays to connect, to find out more, to grow more? And there's so many different ways and things that we can do to do that. So anyway, it's that's just what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect with as many people as we can so that they know who Christ is and makes them Lord of their life and enters into the sacramental life of the church and starts living the life that we were meant to be, and to do it together as a community. And so I don't know about you all, but one of my favorite things about being Catholic is how many visible things that we have, hanging around our necks or on our walls, or just these things that just driving by a Catholic church and realizing like who we are, because it's so easy to forget who we are and why we're here and what we're meant to do. So yeah. You've done a great job, Isabel, especially with the social media just presence and just the team and what we're doing there to make things more visible. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
I always like to think about it and say too, especially on the youth side of things and our young adult, is like our faith is meant to be lived like outside of these four walls.
Yeah.
And so often we come here for like an hour and live our faith in these four walls. And that's it.
Yeah.
But we do these things. We're on social media. We do the podcast. We do these ministries because, like, again, our faith is meant to be outside of that. But you were talking about the visible signs, like on our neck. But one of those visible signs, as we were talking about at the beginning, is the Pope. He's
right.
like the visible sign of Christ here as a leader. So as we end, and something to discuss with you and your family, a fun question would be, if you got to meet the Pope, or if you have, and you get to go back and meet him again, what question would you ask him?
Like if you only got one question, what would that question be?
One question.
That's hard.
Are you asking us this, or is it something that just for those listening at home, it's like, what would you ask him?
No, they could talk about it after, but I'm asking you.
Oh, he wants to answer.
I want to know.
now.
What would you ask him?
What would Jesus do? No, I'm sorry. Well, I did meet him, and I'll be real quick with this. I asked him to sign.
That's a flex.
Yeah, I was about to say that. That was good,
I
Brandon.
asked him to sign his book that he wrote on youth and young adults, to only lose it on an airplane a day later.
Hey, Pope, if you're listening.
So
to
if you're
that.
listening to this, please send me another one. No, I'm just kidding.
So he signed it?
He signed it.
You're
I have
pumped.
a picture. I was so pumped. I left my wife.
So were you like
All
reading the book
dressed
on the way
up.
back and you just got...
I wanted to hold on to it because it was important now, right?
Yeah.
And I stuck it in the plane pocket, seat pocket, and
Sad.
there it was.
Oh, man.
Goodbye. Somebody needs it more than me. It was probably the
totally.
trash can of Delta, but still.
Lord willing, persevere, make it to heaven, and then maybe you'll find the person that it was meant for.
So I asked him. My question would be, "Can you sign this again? I won't lose it." No.
That's
What
a
about
good
y'all?
question. I don't know if mine's like any profound question, but I think I would want to just know like what brings him joy when he goes around the world, because you can get so caught up in just like going from place to place, especially being so busy with him. Like where do you see Christ in the little moments of like traveling or meeting people? I'm sure it's a lot, but maybe just asking him like what are the most profound stories that stick with him.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it is. I would ask him about his prayer life. Like what level of prayer life does it take for him to be able to support like the active apostolate of being that heavily relied on, because it's like the book, The Soul of the Apostolate, it talks about that we can't give what we haven't received. And so if we're supposed to be giving the love of Christ, well, then we got to receive it first. And the more active our apostolate is, the more time we have to spend filling up the tank with Jesus. And so I would just be curious, like with all the, like the administrative, because I mean, sometimes I do, it's so busy. And when I'm needing to pray the most is sometimes when I sacrifice, still praying, but not as much. And it's like, what I've realized is the more active apostolate I'm doing, the more I need to pray. But like, what does that look like for him and like real talk, like closed door, not the on camera answer, but I think it would be the same.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
just find out like what that looks like.
That's a really good question.
I'm over here. I would just ask him, what's the best place to eat in Italy?
No, that's
He says, my house.
When can I come over then?
I thought you were going to say, like, what's your favorite coffee?
Yeah, see, I don't know if he drinks coffee, though.
Oh, he
Yeah.
probably
but
drinks
the man has to
espresso.
eat, so...
a good
Yeah.
question
Tell me
though.
where- yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's a practical thing, and I'm sure he'd have an answer for you.
he would.
He would.
So I say we all take a trip to Rome and ask
Eat
this
the
question.
Pope.
Well, Isabel, she's gonna be going there before
Yeah.
too
Yeah,
long. And maybe
Isabel.
Y'all
she'll
give
be
me
able
all
to
your questions.
give you the
Y'all could
answers,
send them
and
into
we'll do that.
Isabel.
So,
See, we'll take them
if
to
you
you.
have questions for Pope Francis, send it to ikeith@stadallas.org, and
She's
I'll
the
find a
commu-
way to get to him.
she's
Don't worry.
communication, so we
see.
know you will.
We'll see what we can do. But no,
Yeah.
let's wrap it up for this week. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the questions, and for you all, thank you for taking the time to watch St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update. Remember that we are walking with every person that we encounter to experience the presence of Christ, and so know that you all are in our prayers, and we ask for you to pray for us as well. And until next week, I'm Brandon Barker with the St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update, week of September the 22nd, joined with Leilani Freitas, Evan Swindle, and Isabel Keith coming at you. Until next week, Godspeed.
You've been listening to the St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram at STA Dallas and visit the website at www.stadallas.org.